The small human ship drifted through the endless black of space. Inside, Commander Jack Harrison looked at the strange message they had received again. The aliens called themselves the Viridian Collective, and they wanted to meet humans for the first time. "Are we sure about this?" Greg Powell asked. The security chief's hand rested near his stunner, a habit from years of training. Jack nodded. First contact is always risky, but the message seemed peaceful enough. Lisa Wright, the science officer, studied the alien star charts on her screen. Their technology is impressive. Look at how they map quantum signatures. In the corner, Maria, Diaz adjusted her communication equipment. "I've been studying their language patterns. They seem very orderly, almost too orderly." The human ship approached the meeting point, a small moon orbiting a gas giant. The surface glowed with soft blue light. As they landed, Jack felt a mix of excitement and worry. Humanity had met 3 alien species before, but each new contact could change everything. "Remember," Jack told his team as they prepared to exit the ship, "we represent all of Earth today." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The team stepped onto the moon's surface, their boots leaving prints in the dusty ground. At first they saw nothing. Then silently they appeared. The Viridians stood nearly 7 feet tall. Their skin shifted colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms and large, unblinking eyes. The leader stepped forward, its skin settling into a deep purple. "Humans," it said, the translator in Maria's hand converting the sounds. "We are the Viridian Collective. I am Speaker 12. Jack stepped forward. "I am Commander Jack Harrison of Earth. We come in peace and friendship." The aliens' eyes narrowed. "You come as individuals. This is unexpected." Lisa moved closer to Jack. "What does that mean?" she whispered. Before anyone could answer, a high-pitched sound filled the air. Jack felt his muscles freeze. He couldn't move. He saw his team members also frozen in place, their faces showing shock and fear. "The human minds are chaotic," Speaker 12 said to another Viridian. "They do not think as one. They are dangerous." Jack tried to speak, but his mouth wouldn't work. He watched helplessly as more Viridians appeared, surrounding them completely. "Take them to the void," Speaker 12 ordered. "They must be studied and contained." Everything went black. Jack woke up in a small cell with gray walls. A force field shimmered across the opening instead of bars or a door. His head hurt, and his uniform had been replaced with a plain gray jumpsuit. A metal bracelet was locked around his wrist, blinking with small lights. "Hello?" he called out. His voice echoed back to him. No answer. After what felt like hours, a tall figure appeared outside his cell. It wasn't a Viridian. This alien had rough stone-like skin and small eyes that glowed yellow. "A human," the guard said, its voice deep and grinding. "First time we've had your kind here." "Where am I?" Jack asked. "Where is my team?" "You are in the void," the guard answered. "The most secure prison in the galaxy. Your team members are in different cell blocks." Jack stepped toward the force field. "This is a mistake. We came in peace." The guard made a sound like rocks falling. Maybe it was laughter. "Everyone says that. The Viridians don't make mistakes. They believe your species is unpredictable and dangerous. We have rights under galactic law." "Not here," the guard cut him off. "In the void, there is only containment." The guard moved away, leaving Jack alone again. He examined his cell carefully. A small bed attached to the wall, a sink and toilet in one corner, a small table with nothing on it, no windows. The air felt recycled and dry. Jack sat on the bed, trying to think. The Viridians had tricked them. But why? What made humans so threatening to them? The lights in the cell dimmed, then brightened again. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing a tray of food. Jack approached it carefully. The food looked like colorful paste. As he ate the tasteless meal, Jack noticed something. A small section of the wall near the floor looked different. The color didn't quite match. He finished eating and moved closer to examine it. It was a maintenance duct cover recently replaced. The seal around it wasn't perfect. Jack felt a tiny draft of air coming through. A voice suddenly filled the cell. Prisoner 7294, stand for inspection. Jack quickly moved away from the wall as the force field disappeared. A new guard entered, taller than the first, with 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its face. I am High Executor Zixvan, the alien said. Warden of the Void. Jack stood straight, meeting the alien's many eyes. I demand to see my crew. Zixvan's mouth parts clicked together. You demand nothing. For 700 years no one has escaped the Void. No one ever will. Why are we here? Jack asked. We came to your people in peace. The Viridian Collective has determined that humans possess dangerous thought patterns. You think individually. You act on emotion rather than logic. You cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy unchecked. Jack kept his face calm, but inside anger burned. How many prisoners are here? 8,322, Zixvan answered immediately. From 97 different species, all threats to galactic order. And my team? Separated, according to threat assessment. The Knowledge Keeper in Science Block, the Defense Unit in High Security, the Communication Unit in General Population. Jack understood. They had categorized his team by their roles. They saw Lisa as a Knowledge Keeper, Greg as a Defense Unit, and Maria as a Communication Unit. When will we be released? Jack asked. Zixvan's eyes blinked in sequence. The Void is not temporary, human. This is your permanent home now. The warden left, and the force field returned. Jack sat back on his bed, thinking hard. The aliens had underestimated them. They saw humans as simple parts of a whole, not as complete individuals capable of many things. Jack looked at the poorly sealed maintenance duct again. The prison might be unbreakable to other species, but humans had a long history of doing the impossible. He ran his fingers over the metal bracelet on his wrist. There had to be a way to use it or disable it. He examined every inch of his cell again, making mental notes of everything. The Viridians believed their prison was perfect. They thought no one could escape, especially not in a short time. They had never met determined humans before. Jack smiled to himself. The warden had said the Void was unbreakable for 700 years. That record was about to end. Lisa Wright sat perfectly still on the floor of her cell, eyes closed. The aliens had taken her tools, her uniform, and her communications device. But they couldn't take her mind. And right now, her mind was working overtime. The science block of the Void was quiet compared to other areas. Her neighbors were mostly researchers, philosophers, and engineers from various species who had created things the Viridians found threatening. Many had been here for decades. Lisa opened her eyes when she heard the soft hum of the guard approaching. It was time for the daily exercise period. The force field disappeared, and she stepped out into the hallway. 5 other prisoners joined her, each wearing the same gray jumpsuit and blinking bracelet. Move to recreation area, the guard ordered. This one had skin like polished metal and moved with perfect mechanical precision. As they walked, Lisa studied everything. The lights in the ceiling pulsed with a pattern. The doors opened and closed in sequence. Even the guards moved at exact intervals. This place ran like a perfect machine. In the recreation area, prisoners could walk around a large circular room. Nothing else. Just walking in circles. But Lisa noticed something important. Prisoners from different blocks were here together. Her heart jumped when she saw Maria Diaz on the other side of the room. Their eyes met briefly. Maria gave a tiny nod. She had seen her too. Lisa began walking, counting her steps. 20 steps, then she coughed once. 40 steps, she brushed her hair back. 60 steps, she stretched her arms. Simple signals that wouldn't look suspicious. As she passed near Maria, she heard her whisper, "Mealtime, 3rd table." Lisa didn't respond. The guards watched everything, but she understood. They would try to sit together at the meal. After exercise, came study time. The Viridians believed in keeping prisoner minds occupied with approved knowledge. Lisa sat at a learning station with a screen that showed information about galactic history, science, and culture, all from the Viridian perspective. But, as she tapped through the materials, Lisa realized something crucial. The computer systems here ran on crystalline technology. The screens had a specific glow and made a faint ringing sound when changing displays. She had studied similar systems during her science training. Crystalline computing used harmonic frequencies. Change the frequency and you could change how the system worked. She looked down at her prisoner bracelet with new interest. Greg Powell did push-ups in his cell, counting quietly. He had done this same routine at the same time for 3 days now. The routine wasn't just to stay strong, it was to learn. As he pressed against the floor, he felt the tiny vibrations traveling through the ground. The guards made these vibrations as they walked their patrol routes. By feeling the pattern, Greg could time their movements exactly. In the high-security block, guards passed every 8 minutes. No variation. Perfect predictability. Greg finished his exercises and sat on his bed. He had already found 7 items in his cell that could be useful tools. The edge of his food tray could become a scraper. The thin wire in his jumpsuit collar could pick a simple lock. Even the condensation from the water pipes could help short-circuit certain types of electronics. The problem was getting out of the cell. The force field seemed impenetrable. But nothing was truly impenetrable. Not to a human who had spent 15 years in security work. Greg had noticed that when the meal delivery system activated, the force field flickered for 0.3 seconds. Not enough time to escape, but enough time to know there was a weakness in the system. He lay back on his bed, continuing to count the guard patrols through the vibrations in the floor. 8 minutes. Always 8 minutes. The aliens loved their perfect routines. That would be their mistake. Maria Diaz sat in the common area of the general population block. Unlike the others, she had freedom to mix with dozens of alien prisoners during most of the day. The Viridians had classified her as low risk, just a communication unit in their eyes. They didn't understand that communication was power. So, "You are the human," said a voice beside her. "I have never seen your kind before." Maria turned to see a tall, thin alien with 6 limbs and skin that looked like flowing water. Its eyes were large and entirely black. "I am Maria," she said simply. "I am Krell," the alien replied. 32 cycles in this place. Maria's eyes widened. 32 years? And no way out? Krell made a sound like wind through leaves. The void has no exits. The Viridians made sure of that. Maria leaned closer. "Nothing is perfect." Krell studied her for a long moment. "You have been here less than a day, and already you think of escape? Interesting." "I'm not thinking anything," Maria said carefully. "You don't need to speak thoughts." Krell tapped his head. "My species can sense surface thoughts. Yours are very determined." Maria tensed. If Krell could read her thoughts, the guards might be able to also. "Do not worry," Krell whispered. "I will not share. In fact, I find humans fascinating. So much chaos in your thinking, so many possibilities." "Can you tell me about this place?" Maria asked. "The systems, the routines?" Krell's flowing skin rippled. "Why not? 32 cycles is a long time to learn the rhythms of the void." For the next hour, Krell explained how the prison operated. The power came from the asteroid's core. The security systems ran on backup, generators if the main power failed. The guard shifts changed every 12 hours. The supply ships came once every 15 days. Most importantly, Krell explained the classification system. The Viridians see all beings as parts of a whole. They have classified your kind according to function, not potential. That is why you are here, and your leader is in isolation. Maria smiled slightly. "They think I just relay messages." "Yes. They do not understand that communication means understanding, and understanding is the first step to freedom." The dinner bell sounded, a low tone that vibrated through the floor. Maria stood up. "Thank you, Krell. I hope we can talk more." Krell's eyes seemed to smile. "I have a feeling our conversations will be short but memorable. Human." Maria walked to the dining hall, her mind racing with new information. As she entered, she scanned the room and spotted Lisa being led in with the science block prisoners. They needed to sit together just for a moment, just long enough to share what they had learned. The Viridians had made a serious mistake. They had separated the humans thinking it would weaken them. Instead, it had given each of them access to different parts of the prison. Now they just needed to put the pieces together, and humans were very, very good at solving puzzles. The dining hall buzzed with the sounds of dozens of different alien species eating and talking in low voices. Lisa sat down with her tray of food paste and waited. The guards stood at each corner of the room, watching but not interfering with the prisoners' conversations. Maria entered with another group and moved through the food line. Lisa watched as she carefully chose a seat at the same table, 3 spots away. Close enough to speak quietly, but not so close as to draw attention. "Status?" Lisa whispered, after a few minutes of eating silently. Maria didn't look up from her tray. "Made contact with a prisoner named Krell. Telepathic. Knows the prison systems. Guards change shifts every 12 hours. Lisa nodded slightly. "The computers use crystalline technology. Harmonics are the key." "Jack?" Maria asked between bites. "No word. Greg? Saw him yesterday briefly. He tapped his wrist twice. I think he's found something about the bracelets." Lisa looked down at her own bracelet. "They emit a tracking signal, but I think they can be modified." A guard walked past their table. Both women stopped talking immediately and focused on their food. When the guard moved away, Lisa spoke again. "We need to coordinate, all 4 of us." Maria nodded. "Mealtimes are our best chance. I'll try to see Greg again today. Find out what he knows. And Jack? Leadership block is isolated. But..." Maria paused, thinking. "Krell might know a way to get a message to him." Lisa finished her bland meal. "We need more time." Maria shook her head slightly. "We don't have more time. The transport ships come every 15 days. The next one arrives tomorrow. They're taking Jack off station for deeper questioning." Lisa's eyes widened. "Then we move tonight." "With what? Plan? We'll make one. Humans are good at that." A loud buzzer sounded. Mealtime was over. As they stood to return their trays, Lisa whispered, "Exercise period. 4 hours from now." Maria gave a tiny nod, and then they were separated again, returned to their different cell blocks by different guards. Jack worked carefully at the maintenance duct in his cell. The poorly sealed panel was his best chance of escape, but he needed to work slowly, quietly. If the guards noticed anything wrong, he would lose this opportunity. Using the edge of his food tray, he scraped at the sealant around the panel. It crumbled slightly. It had been applied incorrectly, probably by a maintenance worker in a hurry. As he worked, Jack thought about his team. Were they safe? Had they found potential escape routes in their sections? He had no way of knowing. The isolation was part of the prison's strategy. A sound outside his cell made Jack quickly move away from the wall and sit on his bed. The force field flickered and a different guard appeared. Not the warden or the regular patrol guard. "Human," the guard said in a raspy voice. "You have a visitor." Jack stood, confused. Visitors weren't allowed in the void, according to everything he had learned so far. The guard stepped aside, and a small, hunched alien entered the cell. Its skin was dark and seemed to absorb the light around it. 6 small eyes blinked independently of each other. "Leave us," the alien said to the guard. Surprisingly, the guard obeyed, though the force field remained active. "Who are you?" Jack asked. "My name is Varrock," the alien replied. "I run certain services in the void." Jack crossed his arms. "What services?" "Information. Items. Connections." Varrock's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "For a price. I don't have anything to trade." Varrock's eyes blinked in sequence. "You have knowledge. Coordinates of your homeworld, perhaps?" Jack tensed. "That's not for sale." "Then perhaps smaller information. Details about human physiology. Your technology level." Why do you want to know about humans? Vrock moved closer. The Viridians fear your kind. That makes humans very interesting to me, and to others in the void. Jack considered his options. He needed allies, information. This Vrock clearly had influence if guards obeyed him. What exactly are you offering? Jack asked. I know your team is planning something. Vrock's voice dropped lower. I have eyes everywhere. The science human has discovered the crystalline systems. The security human has mapped the guard patrols. The communication human has made contact with Krell. Jack kept his face neutral, but inside his mind raced. His team was making progress. And? He prompted. And you need access codes. For the hangar, bay, for the transport ships. What makes you think we're trying to escape? Vrock made a sound like pebbles sliding together. Laughter, perhaps. All prisoners wish to escape. Humans simply seem more determined. Jack sat on his bed. If, hypothetically, we wanted these codes, what would it cost us? Earth coordinates, Vrock said immediately. Not happening. Then, Vrock paused. Information about human adaptability. How your kind survives in different environments. What makes you so unpredictable? Jack thought for a moment. Information about human biology wasn't classified, and if it helped them escape, deal, he said. But I need proof the codes work. Vrock reached into a fold of his dark skin and pulled out a small crystalline chip. The main access code changes daily, but this master key works on all secondary systems, including communication arrays. Jack took the chip carefully. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse slightly. How do you have this? He asked. The void has existed for 700 years. I have been here for 300 of those years. Vrock's eyes blinked again. One learns things, makes connections. Why help us? Change is coming to the galaxy. The Viridians have ruled too long with their order and symmetry. Chaos is needed. Vrock moved toward the force field. And humans seem to be experts at creating chaos. After Vrock left, Jack examined the chip closely. If it truly could access the communication systems, they might be able to contact his team members. He returned to working on the maintenance duct with renewed energy. The panel was almost loose enough to remove. Beyond it, he could see darkness, a tunnel that might lead to freedom. Jack thought about what Vrock had said. The Viridians feared humans because they were unpredictable, because they didn't think as one mind. Because they adapted quickly. Those very traits would be their salvation. From his days of careful observation, Jack knew the guard patrols passed his cell every 15 minutes. The next patrol would come in 7 minutes. After that, he would have 15 minutes to open the duct, explore what was beyond, and return before being discovered. As he waited, Jack smiled to himself. The Viridians had built the void to be unbreakable, but they had built it with their own thinking. Ordered, predictable, logical. They were about to learn that humans excelled at finding the flaws in perfect systems. Greg Powell stood perfectly still in the exercise yard of the high-security block. His eyes were closed, but his mind was working. The vibrations through the floor told him exactly where each guard was standing. 6 guards total, all following the same pattern they did every day. He opened his eyes when he felt someone approach. It was another prisoner, a tall being with transparent skin that showed swirling colors inside its body. The Water One sent me, the alien whispered. Message from your team. Greg didn't change his expression. Go on. Tonight, 700 prison time. Be ready. Greg gave a slight nod. The message was from Maria through Krell, so the plan was in motion. He had been working on his own part for days. The bracelet on his wrist was more than just a tracker. During meals, he had observed how the guards used similar devices to open doors and access systems. The prison relied heavily on these simple tools. When exercise time ended, Greg returned to his cell. The force field hummed back into place behind him. He sat on his bed and carefully removed a small metal sliver he had hidden in the seam of his jumpsuit. With practiced hands, He began to work on his bracelet. Not to remove it, that would trigger an alarm. Instead, he was modifying it. The inside of the device had circuitry that could be adjusted. Greg had spent years working with security systems on Earth. These alien versions weren't so different. As he worked, he thought about what he had learned. The prison ran on precise timing. Guard shifts, meal deliveries, exercise periods, everything happened at exactly the same time every day. That meant if something disrupted that timing, the whole system would struggle to adjust. Chaos was the enemy of order. And humans were very good at creating chaos. Lisa sat at her learning station in the science block, but she wasn't studying the approved materials. Instead, she was testing something. Each time she touched the screen in a certain pattern, her bracelet reacted with a tiny pulse. The crystalline computing system and the bracelets were connected, just as she had suspected. During her science training on Earth, Lisa had studied harmonic resonance. When two systems vibrated at the same frequency, they could affect each other. If she could make her bracelet emit the right frequency, it might disrupt the prison systems. The guard watching the science prisoners was distracted, talking to another guard. Lisa took advantage of the moment to press a hidden combination on her bracelet. The screen in front of her flickered briefly. It worked. Now she just needed to increase the effect. As she continued her quiet experiments, Lisa thought about the plan forming in her mind. If Greg could modify his bracelet to access doors, and if she could use hers to disrupt systems, and if Maria could coordinate with other prisoners to create distractions, they might have a chance. But what about Jack? Had he found a way out of his isolated cell? Without him, the team wouldn't leave. That was never a question. Maria sat with Krell in the common area. Several other aliens had joined their quiet conversation. Word had spread quickly among the prisoners. The humans were planning something, and many wanted to be part of it. The guards will be changing shifts at 0700, Krell said softly. That is your best moment. We'll need distractions in multiple areas, Maria replied. A large alien with rock-like skin nodded. My people can create a disturbance in Block C. Another, prisoner small with 4 arms, added. I can disable the lights in the dining hall. Maria looked at each of them. Why help us? You don't know us. Krell's watery skin rippled. The void has stood unbroken for 700 years. Some of us have been here for centuries. Your kind has been here for 1 day. And already you have a plan? That gives us hope. Maria smiled slightly. Hope is powerful. More powerful than the Viridians understand, Krell agreed. They think order is strength. They do not see that adaptation, change, even chaos can be stronger. Maria leaned forward. If we succeed, many of you can come with us. But I need to know, has anyone contacted our leader in the isolation block? A small, shadowy alien spoke up. Varrock has made contact. Your leader works on his own task. Maria nodded. Jack was active. The team was coordinating. The plan was coming together. At exactly 0645 prison time, Jack Harrison removed the maintenance duct cover completely. He had spent hours loosening it silently, carefully, making sure no guard would notice. The space behind it was narrow, but just big enough for a human to crawl through. Jack had explored part of it during his brief windows between guard patrols, mapping the ventilation system as best he could. It led to a maintenance hub where the prison's air circulation systems were controlled. From there, he believed he could reach the main corridor that connected the different blocks. Jack slipped the crystalline chip from Varrock into a small pocket he had created in his jumpsuit. Then he checked the time on the wall display. In 15 minutes, the guard shift would change. That was when everything needed to happen at once. He took a deep breath and prepared to enter the duct. The next few minutes would determine if humans became the first species to escape the void, or if they spent the rest of their lives in this alien prison. High Executor Zixavan stood in the control room of the void, his 6 eyes scanning the monitors showing every section of the prison. Something felt wrong. The prisoners seemed too quiet, too still, especially the humans. In just 1 day, they had adapted to prison life with unusual speed. They followed rules perfectly. Too perfectly. Increase. Surveillance on the human prisoners, Zixvan ordered. All 4 of them. A guard approached. Sir, the human leader shows no unusual activity. The defense unit is sleeping. The knowledge keeper is studying. The communication unit is socializing. Zixvan's mouth parts clicked together in frustration. They are planning something, I can sense it. Impossible, the guard said. No one has ever escaped the void. The humans have been here only 1 day. That, Zixvan said, is what concerns me. He moved to a different monitor and pressed a series of commands. Prepare a transport ship. The human leader will be transferred off-station immediately, not tomorrow. Yes, High Executor. As the guard left, Zixvan continued watching the monitors. The humans appeared to be doing nothing unusual, but his instincts told him danger was coming. The shift change would happen in 10 minutes. Perhaps he should delay it, break the routine just this once. He reached for the communication panel to give the order. At that exact moment, the lights flickered throughout the void. The escape had begun. The lights throughout the void flickered again, longer this time. Lisa pressed the sequence on her modified bracelet once more, focusing all her concentration. The crystalline technology responded to the harmonic frequency she had discovered. In the high-security block, Greg felt his bracelet warm slightly. The signal from Lisa's device had worked. He pressed his own modified bracelet against the cell's control panel. The force field wavered and then disappeared completely. Guards shouted in confusion as alarms began to sound in some sections of the prison but remained silent in others. The carefully ordered system was falling into disorder. Greg stepped into the corridor just as 2 guards ran toward him. He had studied their movements for days. He knew exactly how they would attack. The first guard reached for a stun weapon. Greg ducked under its arm and used the guard's own momentum to throw it against the wall. The second guard hesitated, surprised by the human's speed. That brief pause was all Greg needed to knock the weapon from its hand and deliver a precise strike to the spot he had identified as vulnerable. Both guards lay stunned on the floor. Greg quickly took their communication devices and security keys. He needed to reach the central corridor that connected all the blocks. That's where the team would meet. In the science block, Lisa watched as her fellow prisoners realized their cells were open. Some stepped out cautiously, others remained inside, too afraid or too conditioned to seize the opportunity. The systems are resetting, Lisa told them. We don't have much time. A few decided to follow her. They had seen what the human had done, using knowledge to find a weakness in the supposedly perfect prison. Lisa led them through the now open security doors, heading toward the central corridor. Guards tried to restore order, but with the systems malfunctioning, their own technology worked against them. In the general population block, chaos erupted exactly as planned. Krell and the other aliens who had agreed to help created disturbances in 3 different areas. Some knocked over tables in the dining hall. Others staged fights in the exercise yard. A few set small fires in the waste disposal area. Guards rushed to contain these problems, leaving the corridors with minimal security. Maria slipped away from the commotion, guiding a small group of prisoners who wanted to join the escape. Among them was Krell, whose knowledge of the void had been invaluable. The central corridor connects to the hangar bay, Krell told Maria as they moved quietly through the prison. But it will be heavily guarded. We have a plan for that too, Maria replied with confidence she didn't entirely feel. Jack crawled through the narrow maintenance duct, moving as quickly as he could in the confined space. The metal walls pressed in around him, and the air was stale. But ahead, he could see light. He reached a junction where several ducts connected. According to his mental map, the left path should lead to the main maintenance hub. From there, he could access the central corridor. As he turned into the left duct, he heard the alarms begin to sound. The plan was in motion. His team had started their parts. Now he needed to complete his. Jack reached the end of the duct and carefully pushed open the grate. He dropped down into the maintenance hub, a large room filled with control panels and air processing equipment. No guards were present. They would be responding to the various emergencies throughout the prison. Using Varrock's crystalline chip, Jack accessed the main control panel. A display lit up, showing the layout of the entire prison. He could see the security alerts flashing, in multiple sections. And he could see the path to the hangar bay where prisoner transport ships were kept. Jack downloaded the layout to his bracelet and headed for the door. When it opened, he found himself in the central corridor, just as 3 guards came running toward him. High Executor Zixavon watched in disbelief as his perfect prison descended into chaos. Alarms sounded in multiple blocks, force fields failed, doors opened that should have remained locked. "The human prisoners," he shouted. "Where are they?" A guard checked the monitors. "The leader is no longer in his cell. The defense unit has disabled 2 guards. The knowledge keeper is leading a group through science block. The communication unit is moving with several general population prisoners." Zixavon's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. "They're coordinating. But how?" "They were separated." "Unknown, High Executor." "Seal the hangar bay. That's where they'll go. And bring me the human leader. He is the key to this." The guard hesitated. "Sir, the communication systems are failing. We cannot send orders to all sections." Zixavon pushed the guard aside and operated the controls himself. Nothing worked properly. The prison's perfect order had been disrupted by the unpredictable humans in just one day. "I will go myself," Zixavon decided. "Send all available guards to the hangar bay." The central corridor became the meeting point as planned. Greg arrived, first having disabled 2 more guards on his way. Lisa appeared next with 5 alien prisoners from the science block. Maria came last with Krell and 7 others. "Jack?" Greg asked immediately. Before anyone could answer, a door at the end of the corridor opened and Jack appeared, running toward them with 3 guards in pursuit. Greg and 2 of the stronger alien prisoners moved to intercept the guards, giving Jack time to reach the group. "Everyone okay?" Jack asked, breathing hard. Lisa nodded. "The systems are failing, but it won't last. They'll reset soon." "Then we need to move fast," Jack said. "The hangar bay is this way." Jack led the group down the corridor toward the hangar bay, using the layout he had downloaded. They encountered more guards but worked together to overcome them. The aliens who had joined them fought with surprising skill, motivated by the first real chance of freedom in years or even decades. When they reached the hangar bay doors, Jack used Varrock's chip again. The massive doors slid open to reveal a large area with 3 transport ships. "We only need 1, Jack told the group. "Lisa, can you disable the tracking systems?" Lisa nodded and moved toward the nearest ship. Using what she had learned about the crystalline technology, she began working on the ship's control systems. "Greg, secure the area. Maria, get everyone on board." As they carried out their tasks, a loud voice echoed through the hangar bay. "Impressive. Humans. Truly impressive." High Executor Zixavon stood at the entrance with a dozen guards, his 6 eyes fixed on Jack. "In 700 years, no one has caused this much disruption to the void. But your escape ends here." The guards raised their weapons. The freed prisoners backed toward the ship. Lisa continued working frantically on the tracking systems. "Doesn't have to end this way," Jack said, stepping forward. "Let us go." "Impossible," Zixavon replied. "The Viridian Collective cannot allow your kind to roam free. Your chaotic nature is too dangerous." Jack smiled slightly. "That's where you're wrong. Our chaotic nature is what makes us strong. We adapt, we cooperate, we find solutions where others see none." "One more step, and my guards will fire." Zixavon warned you. Jack didn't move. Instead, he spoke clearly and confidently. "If order is perfect, then how can it handle a paradox? Consider this, High Executor. This statement is false." Zixavon's eyes blinked in confusion. "What? That makes no logical—" In that moment of confusion, Greg signaled the others. They rushed forward together as Lisa completed her work on the VA ship. "It's ready," she called. The freed prisoners boarded quickly while Greg and Jack held the entrance. The guards, momentarily confused by their leader's hesitation, reacted too slowly. Jack was the last to board. As the ship's door closed, he looked at Zixavon. "The unbreakable prison has been broken," he said. "In just one day. The transport ship lifted off as more alarms sounded throughout the void. Lisa had disabled the tracking systems and security protocols. The hangar bay doors opened to the darkness of space. As they flew away from the asteroid, Jack looked at his team and the 12 alien prisoners who had joined them. "We did it," Maria said in disbelief. Lisa checked the ship's systems. "And I've sent the escape method to the other prisoners. The void will never be the same." Greg looked out at the stars. "Where to now?" Jack smiled. "Home, and then we warn Earth about the Viridians. They thought humans were dangerous before. They haven't seen anything yet." The ship accelerated into the darkness, leaving behind the supposedly unbreakable prison. Behind them, reports were already flowing into Viridian High Command about multiple prison breakouts occurring across their territory, all using variations of the humans' methods. The void had stood perfect and unbroken for 700 years, until humans arrived and changed everything in just one day.